It is November 15, 2023. The time is now 7:02. First up on our agenda tonight is item A, which is public comment. Is there anyone here for public comment tonight? You're welcome to step forward. All right, seeing none, we'll move on to item B. Item B is the approval of an ordinance. This is our 2024 property tax levy, and our finance director, Doug Valesky, is here for this item. Doug.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council members. So tonight, staff is requesting council to approve ordinance 3877 to set the city's 2024 property tax levy. As part of the budget process, the taxing jurisdictions establishes the amount of property tax revenue needed to fund the budget. That amount needed to fund the budget is called the levy. It is the total amount to be collected from the taxpayers by a taxing district. In Washington, property tax increases are based on the increasing value of properties. They are based on last year's property tax levy, which is simply the amount of the property taxes that were assessed in the prior year. By November 30th of each year, the amount of taxes to be levied by taxing districts are certified to the county assessor in a dollar amount. In Mount Vernon, our tax levy amount in 2023 was $8,530,277. The county assessor calculates the levy rate necessary by dividing the total levy amount by the assessed value of taxable property in the district. By law, this number is expressed in terms of dollar rates per $1,000 of valuation. The City of Mount Vernon is required by law to hold a public hearing to review revenue sources for the coming year. We had a public hearing last week on November 8th, which went into detail the steps of the levy and the amounts that we came up with. The city's property tax increase is limited to the lesser of 1% of the implicit price deflator for the year. Additionally, the city may capture 100% of new construction refunds and may also take any bank capacity available to them. So some important facts to consider for council tonight when setting the property tax rate includes that the implicit price deflator for the year is 3.67%, so it is more than the 1%. So the city district will be allowed to levy 1% more than what was collected in 2023. A 1% adjustment for the property tax levy is $92,149, and this amount has been included in the 2024 preliminary budget. Bank capacity. As a result of the City of Mount Vernon not taking the maximum regular tax which could lawfully be levied in past years, the city has accumulated bank level capacity of $684,527.49. The amount of bank capacity changes from year to year because the highest lawful levy and the actual levy are recalculated. There is $278,000 in bank capacity included in the 2024 preliminary budget. New construction value per the county assessor's office is $12.2 million, which will generate $19,011 of new revenue to the city in 2024. The new construction has been included in the 2024 preliminary budget, as well as refunds of $3,092. So city staff recommends that city council set the property taxes in 2024 at 100% of the 2023 revenue amount, plus the 1% allowed in the amount of $92,149. Take $19,011 for new construction allowed to the city with refunds of $3,092, and consider using $278,000 of bank capacity to help balance the 2024 budget. All these recommendations would leave the levy rate at the 2023 level of $1 and 1.5631 of $1,000 valuation in 2024, which again is the same amount of which is in 2023. So city staff is recommending that council adopt ordinance 3877 to set the city's 2024 property tax levy amount at $8,922,529.
All right, question. Oh, you did? Sorry, didn't want to interrupt, Doug.
That's all. That's
all
it.
Right. Questions for Doug. Our finance director, I will point out that we did hold a public hearing on November 8 regarding this particular issue. And so, councilors, are there any questions for Doug? Any discussion?
So Doug, just to clarify, I don't think my microphone's on. There we go. Just to clarify, so if a person has a, well, it doesn't matter what the value of their home is, if it was valued at a certain dollar amount in 2023 and it's valued at the same level in 2024, the property taxes would stay the same.
Property tax would stay the same, that's correct.
Okay, at least the city's portion of the property tax would stay the same.
That's correct, yes, the city's portion.
Right. Any other questions for Doug?
So while there was a lot of things that needed to be done to keep the levy rate the same and the property taxes the same, providing the same value, there was a lot of work that had to go into the budget in order to do this. As everybody's experienced, there's been a lot of inflation costs. You go to the grocery store and you can, that dozen eggs isn't the same price it was a year and a half ago. There's a number of items that we see. We also see labor costs going up. I think the city saw a significant increase in labor over the course of the year and contract negotiations with labor unions and so on. And so there was a lot of additional costs. So I'm happy that we're able to keep the levy rate the same. And with that, I would move the adoption of the ordinance to set the property tax level.
Second.
Right, thank you. A motion by Mark and a second by Juan. That's for ordinance number 3877. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries, thank you. All right.
Thank you, Council.
Item C tonight is a public hearing on ordinance. This is for our 2024 city budget. And again, I'm going to turn this back over to our finance director, Doug Valesky. Or actually, we're kind of tag team this one, so.
All right.
All right.
All right, so the city of Mount Vernon is required to hold a public hearing to discuss the 2024 proposed budget. So following the public hearing and discussion of the proposed budget, city council may then adopt the budget, which must be adopted prior to the beginning of the ensuing year. So basically what the preliminary budget was made public or was made available to the public last week on November 8th. And everything that I'm going to be discussing tonight is going to talk about the changes that council, we've met several times these last few weeks to talk about the budget. And so I'll go over the changes that were made to the preliminary budget, and then the rest of the presentation will show everything as it is with those changes. So with that, just wanted to start off that, this budget process, we made sure that we efficiency in traditional services, that we follow the financial policies, and then that, as the mayor will discuss in a bit here, the vital conditions of health and well-being were considered while doing the budget. So the budget process is really, it's a huge team effort. It takes the whole city to help with this. Frontline employees, they put a lot of input. We do have a zero-based budgeting process in the city of Mount Vernon, which means is we don't start with our base amount and then go from there. We start out at zero, and then we have to justify every penny not penny, but every dollar that's going into the budget. And we have to make sure that they meet the goals of the city. Then after that, the mayor meets with all the directors, talks about, has a lot of discussions on making sure that we're meeting those goals in the most efficient manner, and that we're meeting the city's mission. And then the mayor brings it to council for review and recommendation, and then it's up to discussions with council to go through and getting that approved. One of the biggest issues or restraints that we have is in our general fund, the discretionary versus non-discretionary budget. And the difference there for non-discretionary budget, it includes things that are things that the city doesn't have any control of. I mean, it's like our maintenance costs, our costs of our employees, and benefits, professional service contracts, all those types of things. And then versus discretionary budget items, which, as you can see here, circled in the yellow, of, includes overtime, supplies, other services, et cetera, for a total of about $2.2 million, which is only 6.2% of our overall budget. And one can maybe even consider that half of that is overtime, and is that really discretionary and not, based off of most of that is for public safety. So a thing that's very concerning is last year at this time when we looked at this, that number was over a percentage point even higher. So it continues to decrease. And as you look here at this chart here, it kind of shows that as discretionary items on the bottom there, that, soon if we continue at this level, with the amount of revenues that are coming in, it could potentially really, the city could be in some dire straits in years to come. So something that we'll have to keep our eyes on and watch out for. So as I mentioned before, the council did make a lot of decisions, and we had conversations and changes in the 2024 preliminary budget. And these are the things that have changed from the preliminary budget. So we carried forward $20,000 of expenses from 2023 to 2024 in our Fund 105 Paths and Trails Fund. And actually the next, these first three are basically all the same. We also did the same for our 107 Little Mountains Improvements Reserve Fund for $14,271 and $20,888 in our Fund 115, our Parks Capital Improvement Reserve Fund. And what those adjustments were for is that those dollar amounts were included in their 2023 budget, but they were not able to expend those in 23 for several reasons, and so they're just asking to carry those forward into 2024. So there's no change in any kind of fund reserve or anything from the preliminary budget. It's just moving that from one year to the next. The next one, we had a discussion, we reduced our budget by $8,000 in our Tourism Promotion Fund, and that was just to match our grant award amounts. We had increases in our Fund 123 Affordable Housing Sales and Use Tax by $134,000, and that was to include funding for a nurse outreach position that's included in our
iOS.
iOS program. Thank you. We also, in the preliminary budget, we did not fund several positions that we took out to help balance the budget. And then after discussions, council did choose to put those back in, some of those back in. So the next four there are from the general fund. We added in the fire prevention specialist for $115,000, a PC technician position in our IT department for $92,503, a part-time attorney position in our attorney's office for $35,386, and then a part-time accounting technician in the finance department for $34,594. We also added back in our Parks and Enrichment Services Fund for the recreation coordinator position in the amount of $106,157. Council also added in a new police records position to help out that workload with public record requests in the police department in the general fund amount of $89,865. We also, also asking for a temporary part-time position in Fund 301, the Mount Vernon Library Commons project for project management. This just is just the authority for the position. The funding has already been included in that fund. We are removing a city contribution to the Oasis Teen Shelter for $50,000 out of the general fund. But as the next bullet point there is we're still making that, it's a contractual amount due to the Oasis Teen Shelter. We're just paying it out of the Fund 123 Affordable Housing Sales and Use Tax. We're increasing the revenues to one of our managerial funds, the Mount Vernon School Impact Fees by $10,424, just to balance this managerial fund. These are basically funds that we hold over and that we collect and then pass back out, and it was just to balance that fund out. We did use bank capacity, so we $278,000, and we broke that out to the general fund for property tax revenues by using bank capacity of 163,000, and then also the 103 Parks and Enrichment Services fund the property tax revenues by using bank capacity of 115,000. We did include, just because of we got the final valuations from the county of our assessed value, and so we are asking the increase of general fund property tax revenue to include $3,092 for a prior year refund amount. That was not included in the preliminary budget. And then lastly, council considered a request from the municipal courts to increase expenditures by $8,350 for additional court security. So these are all the items that changed from the preliminary budget that was presented, and that council had discussion and agreed to do. From that, our preliminary budget for 2024, with all these adjustments, our citywide budget is at $536,873. Our governmental operating budget is $43,031,157, and the governmental operating budgets include our general fund, streets, parks, and library funds, and those are also included in the citywide budget. The general fund balance used to balance our budget in 2024 is $1.6 million, but that is still leaving us with a general fund balance on December 31st of 2024 of $8,044,000, and which is 22.4%, and our which is within our 15% financial policy for reserves. Looking at our governmental operating funds by revenue source, I mentioned there was that $43 million. I did not include, I excluded the, down on the bottom there, you see there's $2.1 million in pass-through public safety tax. Taking that out, looking at our revenues for general government, our sales tax coming into the city makes up 24% of that. Property tax is 22%. Utility tax and other taxes are 12%. Charges for services are 15%. And as you can see down there, just the rest of what makes up those revenues. Also, another point I'd just like to show is looking at our public safety and criminal justice components of our governmental operating funds. Our 2024 budget of $43 million, over 61% of that is for public safety and criminal justice. 29% going to police and 25% going to fire, and then criminal justice 4%, and other at 2%. The other on the other side just kind of makes up the rest of the operational departments, and what that is. But our biggest general fund or general government funds is to support our public safety for the city. I apologize for these next few slides if they're kind of hard to see. This is just a comparison of our, this is for our general fund, and then down below there are the other three city streets, parks, and library, which all make up our governmental operating funds. The total for 2023 adopted budget was $41,213,000. Our proposed 2024 budget is $43,031,000. So there is an increase of $1.8 million, or a 4.4% increase. Looking at our other funds, looking at the fund departments there, all the funds that begin with 100s, those are our special revenue funds. Our capital funds are the 300s. Our enterprise funds and utilities are the 400s and 500s, and then our managerial are the 600s. Combining all the totals for 2024, our budget is $133,536,873. That's about an $8 million decrease overall, or 5.6% decrease. And this does include the general government funds, by the way, this total. of our overall city budget from 2024 as compared to the 2023 adopted budget. The majority of that, as you can see down here, is in our capital funds, our 300 here, their Library Commons project, just based off the years when the funding is coming in and going out, there's a reduction in there of about almost $13 million. As far as our revenues are concerned, for the city, up above here, you'll see that our 2024 budget for taxes are $32.6 million. That's a $1.6 million increase, or 5.2% over 2023. Mainly, you'll see our sales tax, transportation benefit district, House Bill 1590, public safety, and criminal justice. Those are all based off sales taxes and just based off what our increases, what we're looking at receiving in 2024. We're just kind of projecting what those amounts are going to be just about 2% below of what we're actually collecting in 2023. Not the budgeted amount, but the actual amounts. So total tax is about 5.2%. Going down the line here, looking at the rest of them here, we have license and permits going up about $110,000, charges for services, which include our utilities of $1.8 million. Again, the intergovernmental and other financing sources, and even some of the miscellaneous there, those are a lot to do with our capital funds, where you see those decreases. So overall, again, we had 141, and revenue is $123 million, a budget in 2023. This year, we're predicting $113.9 million. It's about a $9.5 million difference, or 7.7% lower than we were last year. And then the amounts of our fund reserves and the funds to balance our budgets to the budgeted expenditures are, last year it was just $18 million. This year it's about $19.6 million. And again, the biggest portions of those are in our capital accounts. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to the mayor.
Okay. So I know council has seen the presentation before when we did the preliminary budget, but I thought it might be really useful to think about when we do our budget. Our jobs with the city government is to provide professional and efficient services to make our city better. We could think of it as vital conditions for health and well-being, and this graphic really shows what the North Star Project is trying to shift our thinking to. It's North Star is the county and all the cities working together around things like behavioral health and homelessness, but I think it's just an interesting shift. We tend to be reactive. We tend to focus on things that are either emergencies, but if we could get a little proactive and think about creating a better place based on this graphic, it would provide health and well-being for our community. So I thought we'd just share a little bit about how the 2024 budget helps in these particular areas. So I'm going to go ahead and advance the slide. So reliable transportation is one of those things. Here we are working on our Riverside Drive redesign. There's a community meeting actually tomorrow night. You can find information on our website about this, where we're going to underground utilities on Riverside Drive, and we're taking advantage of this to be able to add pedestrian and bike-friendly design as well as vehicle design. We're investing in a 15th Street sidewalk improvement, snow plow equipment. We want to make sure people can get around if we have snow events. Funding for the Blackburn Road extension design. That's a project that's been in our city plans for, probably 3 decades. And if we can move a project like that forward, we can open up properties that can be developed for housing. And so we're excited to just kind of take a step forward there. Of course, street maintenance and our sidewalk program are all things that support reliable transportation. The next thing that provides well-being is lifelong learning. Of course, our Mount Vernon Library Commons project will open mid-year next year. That's public library reimagined with lots of opportunities for early childhood education, youth and young adult education, and adult programming to bring us together. Recreation and enrichment programming has really taken off, such an amazing dynamic staff there, so that will be continuing next year. Civic engagement, we're having a lot of good dialogue next year around our comprehensive plan. That's taking a look at everything that we do with the city for 20 years and beyond. And then TV10, we fund TV10. They are able to provide social media on our Channel 10 content and try to get the word out about what the city's doing with our taxpayer money to make their lives better. Meaningful work and wealth, we want to take care of our employees here. So there's cost of living increases in this budget. There's maintaining of employee benefits. We believe very strongly in a well-trained workforce. That's important to us. We're investing there. Recruitment and hiring practices are funded, especially in our law enforcement, trying to fill vacant positions and attract people to that very admirable profession. We want to maintain our financial policies so we have a healthy fund balance, and we're limiting our city debt as much as possible. Humane housing is another element of health and well-being. Here, the council is choosing to invest in the Oasis Teen Shelter that provides services to homeless youth. Building codes are important. We want safe buildings and places for people to live, so we have building code enforcement funded. We are funding the operations of Martha's Place, which is homeless housing, and again, working on that housing and comprehensive plan update and engaging with our community there. Basic needs for health and safety include Fire Station 2 renovation, the Fire Station 1 preliminary environmental work, hopefully moving forward on a new station in the downtown area. Our integrated outreach services, which are social services through law enforcement, that's outreach to homeless individuals on the street and providing services to help them in their situation. We want to fully fund our police personnel. We have parks development. Being outside is very good for health, so we're doing what we can there, and of course recreation programming again. Thriving natural world, things that we can do within our city services is ensure that our wastewater treatment plant is in full compliance with permitting and releasing the cleanest water that comes from all of our residences and businesses and gets cleaned out and then discharged back into the Skagit River. Solid waste and encampment cleanup is proactive. We have critical area ordinances that we enforce so that we're protecting critical areas in our city. Again, our Parks Department, we're planning on electric vehicle purchases for our city fleet and the electrical EV infrastructure for public use and fleet use as well. So that kind of shows a little bit about how we're wanting to contribute to the well-being of our community. But I also wanted to touch a little bit on budget strategy. Sometimes we find folks that make, somewhat ignorant comments about government spending. I will say with city government, we are extremely transparent. Anyone that is watching can go online. They can look at our city budget and literally see every penny and where it's being spent. We talk a lot about that discretionary versus non-discretionary. There is no sort of slush fund there, and the city does not have deep pockets. And over the last 12 years of sitting in this position and having the most amazing staff to help out, we have come up with budget strategies to lessen the impact on our taxpayers, but still maintain an incredible level of service. So I'm not going to go through all of these, but a few things that are, I think, important to point out. We had asked the voters to help support the renovation of fire stations. Unfortunately, that was rejected, but we didn't give up, and we found a way through a ground emergency medical transport revenue to fund those very important capital projects, because quite frankly, we care a lot about our firefighters and their health and safety and the way that we support them in their efforts. A couple other things there is using some of the tourism funds that come in. That's through hotel motel revenue. That helps support things like our 4th of July, other free events, and capital projects like a public restroom and the Mount Vernon Library Commons. We have a transportation benefit district. This is where a public did vote to help us out, to help fund our streets and our infrastructure around transportation. So just a few strategies there. The next slide kind of continues. We've got about 16 of them that we've been able to implement over the years. We contract services. If we need things in our city that really we don't need a full-time person to do, we absolutely are efficient and contract out those services. Defraying expenses during grants. I will say over the last 12 years, we've completed, or with the Commons nearly completed, $100 million of infrastructure projects without a property tax increase to do it. It's pretty unheard of with the city, but we work really hard on our budget every year. And then with COVID funding, we had some funding that came to us. We used it really wisely to catch up on equipment reserves, so that way when we need equipment, we can purchase it, update a lot of our IT infrastructure, and so we're pretty proud of that. So just sharing some of those things with folks that are public that may be listening. This council works extremely hard to provide responsible budgets and adopt them. Can't be more grateful than I am sitting here tonight to do that, but to share that there does a lot of hard work goes into producing budgets every year for our community.
All right, so getting back to the budget here, then on this part, so what's all included in the budget? Council just approved a property tax levy, and included in that was our new constructions and refunds for a total of $22,103. 1% allowed of $92,149, and the use of bank capacity of $278,000. With all of that, we were still able to keep our levy rate the same amount as it was in 2023. We're assuming sales tax is just under the 2023 actuals. We've got Mount Vernon Library Commons project of $37,030,000 budget in there. Also included is a Fire Station number 2 remodel. We were fortunate enough to complete the Fire Station 3 remodel in 2023, and work has begun on the 2020 on 2 remodel. Also, the second payment of 3 payments for our ladder truck replacement of $296,000. In our ER&R fund, we have 33 new vehicles and equipment replacements of about $4.5 million. A number of these have been carried over from 2022 and 2023 just because of the unavailability of a lot of these vehicles. We have a contribution to the Oasis Teen Shelter of $50,000. And then one thing the city also does is there's a 4% estimated vacancy savings, which reduces our budget by $1.2 million. What else is included? This kind of touches a base on some of that non-discretionary monies that we really don't have much control over. We have a fuel increase of $22,000, liability insurance of $688,000, repairs and maintenance of $242,000, maintenance contracts at almost $160,000, as well as software maintenance contracts of $346,000. The city's contribution to the 911 center of almost $60,000 increase, and these were all increase amounts. And then the district court, an increase of $81,870. ER&R contributions increase of $233,000. Our Skagit County disposal fees went up $100,000. Taxes went up $315,000. Public utilities went up $327,000. We do have a contribution to Martha's Place of $65,000, and then also there's a surface water drainage study of $400,000. So for a total of over $3 million of costs associated in these. So what is not included in our budget? So the Mount Vernon Library Commons still has a shortage right now, about $1.3 million. We did not include that in our 2024 budgets, but we're still working on funding opportunities and grants to make that up. There was a police and fire command vehicle that we've been talking about the last few years. We did not include that in for $745,000. Police Ford and Scepter, a hybrid vehicle for $57,000. Parks had a request for a 65 horsepower tractor for $54,000. There's also a mini skid steer loader for $60,000. And then overall, when we received our budgets from all the departments, everybody went back and we worked on we cut over $600,000 out of the budgets just to try to make our budgets work. Personnel requests, we have 2 new building inspectors, a building inspector 1 and 2. This is replacing 1 building inspector and plans examiner. to kind of help offset that. We're also asked for, we're also have in here a new facility manager's construction management position, a police records position, and then a temporary part-time projects management position for the Library Commons project. There were some requested positions by the departments, but we did not include them in our budget for a new recreation leader, a new mechanic, a procurement specialist, a GIS specialist, and engineering technicians. These were not included in the budget. Other major considerations is making sure that our budgets fall within our fiscal policy, and so this 2024 budget does meet our reserve goals. Our general fund reserve goal is 15%, and like I mentioned earlier, we're going to be about we're estimating it being at about 22.4%, and then parks at 10, library at 10.3, and streets at 19.2. Those three, their fiscal policies has a 10% reserve, so we are meeting them in all of those areas. A little bit of information just about the property tax levy. So as it states here, in Washington, property tax increases are not based on the increased values of properties. They are based on last year's property tax levy, which is simply the amount of property taxes that were assessed in the prior year, plus any new construction and council adjustments. Then this levy amount is allocated across all the assessed values. So with our assessed values increasing, we have historic low levy rates. They continue to decrease, which I'll show you in a little bit. We have bank capacity of about $684,000. And included in our rate, which I'll just mention again here now, is we've included 1%, which is $92,159, which the IPD is at 3.67, so the city is allowed 1%, or the IPD, whichever is lower. There is new construction of $19,000, and then refunds of just a little over $3,000. And then also bank capacity used at $278,000. That being said, looking at where we are, down below there you can see for 2023 and 2024, our assessed values went up about 5.6%, from $5.4 billion to $5.7 billion. We are able to, our total levy amount went from 8.5 to 8.9, but we were able to leave our levy rate consistent at 1.5631, which is the same rate as it was in 2023. So if your assessed value of your home is the same, you will be paying the same amount in 2024 as you did in 2023. And again, this chart is just interesting. It's showing that as assessed values go up, which is that orange line is going up, which means then which brings down our levy rates. You can see that those are dropping. And again, we have those staying the same, our levy rate the same for 2024 as it was in 2023. So with that, so tonight was just the public hearing on the 22 budget and possible adoption with council after the public hearing.
All right. Any questions for Doug before we open the public hearing regarding our budget? All right, seeing none, I'll open the public hearing regarding the 2024 City of Mount Vernon budget. Is there anyone that would like to speak tonight on this budget? All right, seeing none, we will close the public hearing. We'll come back to Doug. And again, questions for City Council on this particular item? Oh, go ahead, Melissa.
I don't have any questions, but I want to take a moment to say thank you to the mayor. This is her 12th budget, and to her staff. Our rate continues to be the lowest it has been in over 2 decades. And that is in large part due to responsible budget administration. And so I thank you for that, and I thank your staff for that.
All right, any other questions for Doug? All
Well,
right, oh,
I would,
go
sorry.
ahead, Juan, please.
I would just like to second the gratitude from Councilmember Beaton. I know these numbers takes a lot of time, takes a lot of stress, and a lot of months from everybody, from staff, department heads, to get together and bring a nice package binder to council for them to make adjustments where needed. So I'm very appreciative of that, of everybody, all the staff, department heads, the mayor, the council. So with that, I would like to make a motion to pass ordinance number 3878.
All right,
I will second that.
all right, motion by Juan and a second by Melissa. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. We have a budget. Thank
All
you,
right.
council.
Thank you,
Appreciate
council.
it.
Doug, take the night off.
All right. Again, echoing to Doug, for all of the staff, for the directors to go back and be asked to cut things out. Appreciate all of that, and I know the city will continue to be successful in 2024 with this done, so thank you. All right. Moving on to item D tonight. Item D is a resolution. This is to designate real estate excise taxes to mitigate financing of the Mount Vernon Library Commons project, and I'll have Doug Gillespie take this one. Doug?
All right, thank you, Mayor. So the city of Mount Vernon is currently in the process of applying for a loan from the U.S. Department of Transportation, Build American Bureau, Transportation Infrastructure Finance and Innovation Act, TIFIA. It's a credit program that we've spent a lot of time talking about with council. The amount of this loan is for financing of the Mount Vernon Library Commons project is $26,191,000. And the annual proceeds of our local infrastructure financing tool, or LIFT award revenues of $500,000 each year for 25 years, plus matching funds of $500,000 from the real estate excise taxes, will be used to fund the obligation of this loan. The city is currently right now in the final stage of creditworthiness, and a request was asked if the city would pass a resolution making it clear that the real estate excise taxes funding would be used to help mitigate financing of this project. So staff today is recommending council make a motion to approve Resolution 1046, which designates real estate excise taxes to mitigate financing of the Mount Vernon Library Commons project.
All right, questions for Doug on this item?
I'd move to pass Resolution 1046.
Thank you.
Second?
Thank you. Motion by Gary and a second by Mark. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks, Doug.
council.
Thank you. All right, item E tonight is the approval of an agreement. This is with Southwest Solutions Group, and this is our Public Works Director, Chris Phillips.
Hi,
bringing this
good
item forward.
evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. City staff recommends City Council authorize the mayor to enter into an agreement, to enter into a Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Agreement with Southwest Solutions, AKA Space Saver Corporation, for previously discussed and approved City Council expenditure for the Mount Vernon Library stacks in the amount of $343,433.93 plus tax. New library book collection stacks or shelving are needed for the new Library Commons project currently under construction. The stacks are secured to the floor and all material components are Buy America compliant. Mount Vernon Library Commons staff working with OAC, HKP, and library staff completed the library stack selection process and considered 3 different vendors. Mount Vernon Library Commons sourcing team selected Southwest Solutions due to their affiliation with Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Agreement, and agreements here have been provided for you, which provide the city with the best compliant price. There has been no federal funding that will be utilized to source these particular stacks. Finally, city staff recommends City Council authorize the mayor to enter into a Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Agreement with Southwest Solutions, AKA Space Saver, for the Mount Vernon Library stacks, pending your questions.
All right, questions for Chris on this particular item?
I just want to know why Isaac didn't present this instead of Chris, because it would have been a lot more exciting.
Thank you, Councilmember Holst, I appreciate that.
So if there's no other questions, I'll move the agreement with Southwest Solutions Group.
Thank you. Second. All right, motion by Mark and a second by Mary. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Item F tonight is an approval of a resolution. This is final plat of High Point Estates. It is file number 23-0281. And Stacy Pratchner, our Development Services Director, is here for this item. Stacy.
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor and Council. So thank you for that introduction. So this evening, we would like to make a recommendation to the City Council and respectfully request that Council consider a motion granting final plat approval for the High Point Estates development. And so this evening, I want to take you just a little bit through that application, the project description, where it's located, how many lots, talk a little bit about the regulatory context of a final plat, is it the final plat's compliance with all procedural, legal, and factual requirements, and then next steps that the City Council can opt to take. And so for a final plat, this is a type 5 permit. That means that this is council review without a hearing. The hearings have already taken place, the open record hearing and closed record hearing for the preliminary plat. The final plat, if approved by council, will result in 49 single-family detached dwelling units across approximately 15 acres. The new lots are going to support single-family detached homes and will range in size from 7,500 square feet to about 12,000 square feet. This evening, as part of the request from Mr. Pretzman and Ms. Kavanaugh, who are here in support of their application for final plat, we will also request that the city accept the dedication of new public roads, sanitary sewers, and a stormwater infrastructure to go along with the plat. So just to give us some context for where we are located, we're located on the far east central side of the city, just near the border with the county there. There are additional single-family developments that look very similar, Skagit Highlands to the north there, to what this development will look like when it is built out. So just some details about what this new neighborhood will look like, single-family lots. There has been tracks dedicated and the stormwater facilities have been built. There's been open space set aside through an NGPA, that means Native Growth Protection Area, for protection of critical areas and its buffers. And you can see that there's also been the construction of public streets, sidewalks on both sides, full frontage improvements, along with some additional tracks with buffers around them. So procedurally, this application has met all the requirements for council to go ahead and give final approval. The preliminary plat was approved by council in 2019. Construction has taken place over the course of a couple of years. The final plat was submitted earlier this year in the summer, and now we are here to ask for that final plat approval. So again, because this is a quasi-judicial application and a type 5 decision, procedural, legal, and factual compliance is required before City Council can approve. So we have found it, of course, to be consistent with the municipal code and the comprehensive plan. I can confirm that the applicant has constructed and installed all the needed infrastructure and landscaping that's required. And then the resolution before council, I will note, does have some conditions that need to be satisfied before the final plat can be recorded. And so we are absolutely okay, if it's council's pleasure, to approve the final plat this evening, but there's just some additional steps that are outlined as an exhibit in that draft resolution that the applicant will need to complete before it's actually recorded with the auditor and assessor's office. All right, so the City Council has a couple options this evening. They can approve the resolution before them. There can be different or additional conditions placed, of course, within constitutional constraints, or the application can be remanded back to Development Services Department for more work. Appreciative of your time, as always. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Great. Any questions for Stacy on this? This would be a resolution 1047.
We talked about this last week in committee, didn't we? Last week?
Was it last week?
I think so.
Okay.
I think we're pretty
Your
well
memory, I think,
familiar.
is better than mine, Council.
I think we're pretty well set with that. I think all the questions have been answered, so if there's no other questions, I'd move the adoption of resolution 1048.
1047.
Seven,
Yeah,
sorry.
that's okay.
I can't read, my glasses are dirty.
No worries. There is a motion. All right, a second by Juan. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign.
Look at these suckers, Juan, you're laughing.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and
Stacy.
City Council.
All right. Thank you. Item G tonight, this is the approval of an ordinance. It's prohibiting the sale and discharge of fireworks our city attorney here, Kevin Rogers. Our city attorney is here to present this item. Kevin Rogers, please.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council. Before you is proposed ordinance number, I believe, 3879. If adopted, this would repeal and reenact Chapter 824 of your Mount Vernon Municipal Code, which is your chapter relating to fireworks. If adopted, this would basically provide a blanket prohibition on the sale and discharge of fireworks within the city of Mount Vernon, subject to certain exceptions, very limited, written into the ordinance. So procedurally, pursuant to your own municipal code, a standing committee of the city council made formal motion and recommendation to present this proposed ordinance to a regular meeting of the city council. What this ordinance does is ban with limited exceptions sale and discharge of fireworks within its jurisdiction. If adopted, this would prohibit the sale, purchase, use, discharge as defined by state law in the city, fireworks as defined by state law in the city. Permitted exceptions include a properly licensed and permitted display. If we have a pyrotechnic entertainment production company wanting to film in the city, certainly we would allow that with the appropriate permits. If there's a need to use things that would be considered flares for signal purposes, road hazards, that would be obviously allowed. And that if the forest protection requires certain use of demolition, our fire department would not be prohibited from doing that. So real public safety issues are generally what's accepted here. Pursuant to the recommendation by the standing committee, violation of this is a civil infraction. It's a $1,000 fine for each offense. State law requires that this ordinance not take effect until 1 year after adoption, so you'll see an effective date on the title of November 15th, 2024, which would be 1 year after today. There's also a sunset clause you'll see in the N at 824-140, 3 years after the effective date, and a savings clause that would keep in effect the current regulations. Certainly that could be changed within those 3 years by further act of the City Council.
All right, we've had lots and lots of discussion about this within committee, so are there questions for Kevin or discussion among council members tonight?
So
Melissa, would you like to go first?
why don't I do that?
Okay, awesome.
So I don't have any questions for Kevin, but I do have a few things that I'd like to say. Took a little bit of determination to get this before council for consideration. And I just have a couple statistics that I want to put out there. Children ages 5 to 9 are twice as likely to be injured by fireworks. Nearly half of those injuries are to children under 5. Sparklers burn at 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, which is hot enough to melt some metals. Comparatively, cigarettes burn at 752 to 1,652 degrees. 25%, that is the percentage that sparklers alone cause ER visits. They quickly ignite clothing. That information comes from the National Fire Protection Association studies. The U.S. Consumer Protection Safety Commission has put out some reports, and we're talking 2021, but there were over 11,500 injuries treated in ERs across the U.S., specifically to eyes, hands, head, and neck. Sparklers, those are the ones that are legal right now. Firecrackers and bottle rockets cause the most injuries. And those injuries include blindness, third-degree burns, and permanent scarring. In order to understand the lasting and damaging effects that fireworks bring to our environment, it's important to understand what they're made of: gunpowder. Gunpowder that consists of heavy metals, toxins, barium, lead, mercury, and the list goes on. These contaminants leave a toxic haze that affects our lungs, heart, and the environment. They are bad for soil, worse for water bodies, and worst for our ecosystems. Fireworks are a horror show for many of our veterans and animals that live both indoors and outdoors. Our Mount Vernon Library Commons project has pioneered sustainability by designing to passive house standards, reducing energy use by 80%, achieving 40% reduction in global warming potential in concrete, and includes 112 kilowatt solar array panels on our south elevation. Upon opening, we will have 75 EV charging stations with infrastructure to add an additional 125. I'm almost done. An outright ban will not stop fireworks from going off in our city. That's the fact. It just won't. People bring in fireworks purchased on tribal land, and they set them off. Those are mostly the ones that go up and blow up, the ones that have significant impact. But at least we won't be saying that those legal, safe, and sane fireworks are safe, because they're not. We care about the environment. Look at our Library Commons project, but yet we're allowing these to pollute our environment. So while it may just be 12 hours of approved fireworks, it's a lifetime of damages. And for those reasons, well, I'll step back to see if anybody else has anything to say.
Okay. Any other council discussion?
So while I know my colleague, Councilmember Beaton, is very passionate about banning of fireworks, having served on the council now for about 12 years, every 4th of July, we get 5 or 6 emails asking us to ban fireworks. And the fireworks that folks are concerned with are already illegal in the city of Mount Vernon. This quote, safe and sane, I'm not going to say that they're safe. I can agree with Councilmember Beaton that children can get hurt with them, but there's parents' responsibility also. But when we look at those safe and sane, fire department approved fireworks that are sold within the city, they go to support youth services and youth programs. It's a fundraising event to provide programs for our youth. By banning fireworks completely, we're going to take those opportunities away from our youth. At the same time, we're fooling ourselves to believe that we're going to eliminate fireworks. We're going to take fireworks that are currently legal, we're going to make those illegal. So we're going to punish those that follow the law, make them lawbreakers, and not go after the real problem, which is the tribal fireworks, which is a concern for most folks. I don't see where banning fireworks completely is going to solve any issue whatsoever. When you look across at our neighboring municipalities, if you look at the calls for service per capita, those calls for service, when it's related to fireworks, are about equal to what Mount Vernon's are. So a full-out ban doesn't eliminate the problem. It just takes the entertainment value for those that already follow the law away from them. So for those reasons, I'm going to oppose the ordinance.
It's okay.
But I do support the $1,000 fine for those fireworks that are already illegal.
All right. Other comments? Richard, go ahead.
Thank you. I won't repeat all the things that Councilmember Holst mentioned, as I agree with most of those. And I just have a very difficult time making smoke bombs and sparklers and cones for small family events illegal and subjecting them to $1,000 fine for that. You know, it's very difficult to take away rights of law-abiding citizens, and we've been doing that a lot. And I just ask folks to, you know, understand the rules that are out there. Anything that goes up, blows up, and makes noise is illegal. And that is going to continue to stay illegal regardless of this vote today. And I do hope that we can find other ways to work on this. I think it'd be time to pull together, another group. We had a committee a couple of years ago, spent a lot of time on this, came up with a recommendation to increase the fine. That has happened, has been in effect for 1 year. Like to see how that goes, and I think there's probably additional education and pressure that could be brought to bear on folks who are selling fireworks, which would be illegal in this city. So that's how I feel about it. But I appreciate the conversation.
We'll go Juan and then Mary.
Okay.
You can go ahead, Mary. It's okay.
No, I'm gonna make you go first.
We'll go in order of raising hands. How about that?
Well, we're going in order. We're still on that side of it. Can't be back and forth. Well, if you're okay. All right. I just want to say that I appreciate everybody's passion, all my council members. I do appreciate it. And for the longest time, I've been on the fence about it. I was one of the council members, along with Councilmember Holst, who did serve on the fireworks committee a couple calendars back. Came back with the recommendation, passed it along to the council, and the council acted on that. And so, I mean, just seeing what transpired this last holiday, with a lot of residual smoke from the fireworks. I believe from the fire chief, in the fire department, there might have been 1 or 2 homes that were burned directly caused from a firework, right? One.
Which is too many.
Which is too many, absolutely. And really, I feel like this might be the best approach to do now. Not having as a criminal penalty, have it as a civil infraction. And I know $1,000 may seem heavy, but in the event that a firework discharge leads to property damage, I am almost certain the cost of that property damage will far surpass a penalty of $1,000. For those reasons, and for that logic, once the council does consider it for a vote, I would be voting in favor of it.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, Mary.
Thank
So
you.
Mary and then Iris.
You wanna go before me?
We gotta go in order, Mary.
Okay, oh,
'cause you
sorry.
already started.
She didn't wanna mess it up.
It's no longer in order.
So sorry. I feel like we have talked about this a lot over the last several years. If we're going to be good stewards of the environment, like we are doing with our Library Commons project, we need to set the example. I feel that way. I also feel like people have already been informed that if it goes up or blows up, it's illegal in Mount Vernon, yet it continues to happen. So I don't really see where adding another level is going to hurt anything. I feel like it's unfortunate that we have to go this direction, but people don't pay attention to the law, which is very frustrating to me. It's like, you're doing this, you're breaking the law. You are a lawbreaker, although you might think you're not, but it is against the law. So I feel like this is the time for us to go this far and to take this action. I'm happy that there's a 3-year sunset, that we can actually go revisit where we are now, if we move this forward, that we can revisit it after 3 years and see what has transpired, if it's made any difference. But at this point, I am in favor of this.
Okay. Iris?
Well, as everyone who knows me, they know I work with families and young children. And now I have a grandbaby. And I am absolutely pleased to go in favor of this motion to pass, because I've been also a victim of the fireworks, not just me and my family, my 2 brothers and one of my sisters and many cousins. I do respect, I know people want to celebrate 4th of July, and in my country also we celebrate the Christmas and New Year, and everybody does fireworks. But we have seen, I've been witnesses for many, many incidents, the camp mix with the fireworks and doing real guns to shot. Then To me, this is one of the great moments to see to pass something is going to be in favor of our community, but mostly for our own generation or children's. Then we need to protect, and plus taking care of the Mother Earth. And I'm in favor.
All right. Any other council member comments? Carrie, would you like to say anything? You don't have to, just asking.
Boy, I'm a fireworks guy. I've told you guys that in the past. Grew up with them. To me, this is not, it wouldn't be so much about, we're gonna save the environment and kids' fingers, because I had my share of very close calls over the years, back when I was a kid. But, I'm kind of done with the education thing. We've talked about education for years. We put signs up, nothing changes. So to me, it's just kind of coming down. Last 4th of July was just an absolute, it seemed like there was more rockets in the Gaza Strip. I just couldn't even believe what was going on that night. And I'm it's unfortunate because there are a lot of kids and families that do celebrate and are doing it legally, but there's just a bunch of other people that just don't care about other people, and it seems like we're always bumping up against, well, I hope that it rains before the 4th of July, because we're going to end up having a bunch of fires in our city, whether that's dealing with forests and bushes and whatever. So I think we can revisit it, if it settles down. But right now, I would probably be in favor of banning it. And like Marcus said, it probably is not going to change a whole lot in the city. But I do think to get on the same page with Burlington would probably be helpful. Because it's kind of like, when we deal with different things in our city, it's like, well, what's Burlington doing? And they're probably sitting over at their council meeting, hey, what's Mount Vernon? What's their strategy? And same with Cedar Woolley. Anacortes has already banned them. I think it would probably make a pretty good statement that now Mount Vernon, Burlington, Anacortes are kind of done with the goofiness. And if maybe that would push the tribe to maybe sell or just do something with possibly banning them, and also the county maybe putting a ban. But that's what I got.
All right, then.
All right. Having heard all of that, I'd like to make a motion that council adopt ordinance
3879.
3879.
Second.
All right, motion by Melissa and a second by Iris. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign.
Aye.
All right, so opposed is Host and Brocksmith, all right. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item H tonight is a meeting cancellation for November 21st, 2023. According to our ordinance, we do meet on the second and fourth Wednesday. Oh my gosh, I'm thinking Thanksgiving, that's why, Thanksgiving week. Which means that we by ordinance have to meet next week. It is Thanksgiving week, and so we have traditionally tried to take that week off for family, and so that's why there is a need for an official motion to cancel that November 21st, 2023 meeting if council so desires. So that is the action item.
So the last count, I had 22 people coming to my house for Thanksgiving dinner, and I'm expected to cook for them all, which means Wednesday night will be pretty occupied for me. I would move that council authorize the cancellation of the November 21st, 2023 meeting.
Thank you.
Second. Oh,
Motion
Mary's
by
got it.
Mark and a second by Mary. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thanksgiving.
Oh, sorry.
Is there any way you could, to just go back to the fireworks real quick, just that.
No, we're done with
I
that.
know.
You were done with
But
that, Gary.
I just want it to be known that this is not going to go in effect until 2025.
Oh, that's a good point.
Because if it gets in the paper and everything, they banned them, well, they're gonna think next 4th of July is there's gotta be
Effective
that,
date's
but-
written right into the title.
Yeah.
We could
We
publish
will-
that on our website.
We will make
Yeah.
sure that there's some press release around that and making sure people know. And then as we approach, well, I will ask Mayor Donovan that as he approaches July of next year, that public information also gets out, so we can at least be as clear as possible.
Yeah.
But thank you for pointing that out. Appreciate
Anyway,
it.
I'm done.
All right. With that, we've completed our agenda items for tonight. I will ask our city attorney if there's a need for an executive session.
No.
All right. With that, lots of work done tonight. Thank you, council. We'll be adjourned at 8:10.